We're all gonna die. Okay, now that I have your attention, hey guys, what's going on? It's me, the Media Raptor, back with another review for you guys. Anime. This is gonna be an awkward review if you don't like it. Anyhow, so it's a pretty big deal. Everywhere you look, it's in movies, it's in TV, it's graphic novels, like just the Japanese culture has really kind of gotten some good roots now in North America and just around the world for its beauty, its creative storytelling, and the fact that most of it is kind of... Anyhow, there is one company, though, that is kind of known above all as probably the be-all, end-all of anime movies, or just anime in general. Studio Ghibli. Ghibli. The giant raccoon thing, that company. I'm just going to call it Studio Ghibli, or Ghibli. You know what, I'm just going to call it whatever comes out of my mouth at that time. I'm sorry, but I can't pronounce it correctly. So yeah, I finally got a chance to watch one of their movies, in theaters no less, thanks to Cineplex's big events going on. It was weird. Fantastic, but weird. I'm talking, of course, about the 2001 animated film, Spirited Away. Now, this film has had a major impact on a lot of people. Want to know why? It's the only it's the only anime movie ever to win an Oscar, and it won the Oscar for Best Picture, or Best Animated Picture. It's just won awards, and awards, all like the big magazines, New York Times, I totally forget all the other ones, Entertainment Weekly, I guess, and like all the big media coverages have rated it one of the greatest films of all time. And I hadn't seen it despite the fact that everyone I knew, even people who don't like anime to begin with, said you have to see it. So I finally got the chance, and this movie really has to be seen to be believed. Just the sheer weirdness of it. It is such a bizarre movie, and yet it's so beautiful at the same time. I don't really know what to talk about, because the story, it's gonna sound so weird coming from me. Like, it's just gonna sound like one of the most bizarre, disjointed, and just generally ill-thought movies you might ever have heard of. Yet it's one of the best. Long story short, it's about this girl who and with her family are moving, but they stop in what looks like an abandoned village. During the day, it's just ruins. At night, it turns into a bathhouse, essentially, for spirits and demons. Her parents are turned into pigs, and she's forced to work there. Yeah. Oscar-winning movie. Is what I thought when the movie began. And then, the rest of it happened. This film, that's pretty much all you need to know for the plot. It's just a very simple plot, but there is so much in this movie that is so amazing. All these characters, all these magical creatures, like there's Haku, who's like a literal dragon, a river dragon. We have one guy who has 8 legs. Like, it's just, there's all these unique characters, unique designs, and then there's No Face. I'll get to him in a minute. They all have a unique design to them. They all have their unique own ability and attribute. One which, when you think about it, no two characters in this movie are alike aside from the ones that are supposed to be alike. All the characters are likable, really likable in this movie, and it keeps you just enthralled with what they do. Like, some of the characters have magical abilities and stuff like that. No Face. Kind of a spoiler here for those who haven't seen the movie. He seems like just a ghost, essentially. At first you kind of think no one but the main girl can see him. Turns out, No Face isn't his name. We don't know his name, but it's actually the name of his type. And essentially they're all-consuming spirits which will eat anything. He kind of turns out to be a monster. but he's also kind of a good guy. It's so bizarre, and yet you're always enthralled. Like, you never stop and go, what the heck is going on? Without immediately thinking, I want to know what's going on. This movie does everything right to keep you dragged in. Now, my big problem with the movie is they don't explain a whole lot. And this is actually a good complaint. Because the movie is so unique and just magical, I guess, and just so original. We don't know a lot about it. We don't know how these spirits work. We don't know where they come from. We don't know what they are, what they do, or how they are made. Are they alive or dead? There's a scene on a train where there's other spirits which don't have any faces or anything. Like, they're just literal spirits. Are they dead when they get off the train? Does that mean they're going to heaven or hell? Like, what? And I get it. A lot of this film is meant to be very symbolic, and you kind of have to interpret it as different things. But me, I just wish I knew. I wish the movie told us that's how good it is. And the movie is fantastic. I'll get to why. And the story might be kind of both the weakest link and one of the strongest parts. It's the weakest in the sense that it is a pretty basic story. It is just a girl trying to survive and get her parents and get out of there. But then the characters, it's the characters that make this movie so fascinating. All their abilities, their traits, and just what they are. It really makes you want to see more of them. And I don't think we ever do, which is kind of sad. And one thing which I kind of laughed out loud at this was something I think was unintentionally hilarious. There's a scene where they're in another person's house, and No-Face is knitting, essentially. And I remember just saying out loud in a theater full of people, without even realizing it, "Hi, I might eat your family, or I'll make you a scarf. That's me, No-Face." And I remember immediately going, oh no, I just said that out loud in a theater full of people, what am I going to do? Everyone started laughing. And I think that's kind of what the scene is meant to kind of do, is to make you kind of go like, wait a minute, this monster thing is making a scarf. What? That's kind of funny. But a lot of people will say this about the movie. My favorite scene is the train scene. Because it's just so calm. Long story short, I don't want to give away a whole lot, but the train scene, it's the girl, two animals that she has with her, and No-Face, and the four of them just sit on a train as it drives by. There's no dialogue, very calming music. The music in this is fan-freaking-tastic, but it's just quiet. It's calm. There's no jump scares, there's no chase. Like, there was just a big scene beforehand, and now this, it's just quiet. It's calm. And it's beautiful. Because the movie itself acknowledges that we should just take a minute, step back, and just enjoy the world. That's something I try and do, and something I think more of us should try and do, is just enjoy life while we can. We won't be here forever. But while we're here, we can do good things. Let's get back to the movie. I'm just so curious, though, about, No-Face. Is there more than one of them? Is it a guy? I'm just going to call it a guy, because, well, when he talks, he sounds kind of like a guy. But then again, I was watching this with subtitles in the theater, so I don't know. Speaking of which, the acting, I'm not going to really comment on, because this wasn't an English dub. I know that when you have the Blu-ray or the DVD or whatever, you can watch it with an English dub or whatever, but when I saw it in theaters, it was Japanese with subtitles. You guys, the only other Japanese movie I have seen with Japanese acting, there's two. Tokyo Ghoul and Godzilla movies. Yeah. So, I don't really know if this is a good standard for Japanese acting. I don't know if it's a bad standard for Japanese acting. But you know what this is a good standard for? Animation. Holy crap, this animation is amazing. It's all hand-drawn, and you can tell every single freaking frame, every single drawing could be put on a wall or in a museum. So much detail is put into it. Now, there are a couple of very small animation flaws, and this is incredibly petty, to be honest. It's stuff like when there's a small character in the corner, the animation's a bit more janky, or the texture isn't as beautiful. But when you're looking at the actual characters or the buildings, all the details, all the little nicks and the lines and the cracks and the rocks, every single one is put there intentionally and carefully, and it is, without a doubt, the most beautiful animation I have ever seen in any animated movie. More beautiful than Disney, more than Redline, more than Fantasia. It's beautiful. Even if you don't like the story, even if you don't like the characters or whatever, just the animation. And again, going back to the train scene, that's one reason why I loved why I loved that scene so much, is the animation on it. It's so fluent, so beautiful, and so amazing. Music? It's really good. One thing which I can always give anime movies and TV shows good credit for is they always have good music in them, at least from what I've seen. This is no exception. And here we have a very unique, it can be very calming, or very upbeat, or very sad, or it can be very frightening. The music hits every single note it should. And it's great. If the soundtrack is on iTunes, I will probably download it. After I buy this on Blu-ray, because I need to get my hands on it. You can. Thanks to Disney, actually, all these Studio Ghibli films, or Ghibli, or Studio Gummy films, are now available in the United States and Canada. Or they have a more wide release, because Disney's been releasing them. Thanks for that, because now I want to watch all these Studio Ghibli films, because what I've been told, they're all great. But this one I've been told is the best. And frankly, I'm glad I saw it. So, if I really had to kind of say one thing that was a true negative, it would be No Face. And I have a good reason why. Now, before I saw this movie, I knew nothing about it. I had seen a few pictures, that was it. I met a guy at Fan Expo who was cosplaying as No Face Sanchez. Seriously, he was a drunken scientist version of No Face with blue hair, and it was hilarious. I didn't know if No Face talked. I didn't know if he was good or evil. I knew nothing about him. Heck, I didn't even know what he was really from. But when you first see him in this movie, he never says a word. To me, what I think would have worked just as well as what happened already in the movie is what would happen if all you see is No Face appearing and disappearing. Him doing the eating and all that and whatever, but he never speaks. I always thought, not the eating part, but the stealing stuff for the girl and all that, I was kind of thinking how cool would it be, almost as a psychological edge of what is this guy? And there's no answer. There's no scene of realization. He just appears. And then, boom, he's gone. Now, I know that they didn't do that in the movie, and frankly, what they did is fine. I thought he was a great character and all that, but that's just a thought, and that's really the only real negative I can kind of hold against this movie is kind of differently is not using a character the way I expected they would. Even though they still used him in an awesome way, so it's not as much a complaint as it is just an idea. So, if you can't tell, I can totally recommend Spirited Away. It's fantastic. It's a 3.5 Raptor Claw movie out of 4. Like I said, No Face wasn't sure what to expect and kind of thought they could have done him a little bit better, possibly. But that's incredibly petty when you look at the rest of this movie. It is one of the best movies I've seen this year. And I'm kind of mad I haven't seen it until now. Because I feel like I would have loved it back a couple years back, and I feel like I would have loved it now. Now, to be warned, there are some scenes which young kids might get scared by, but just saying, it's a great movie. You gotta see it to believe it. So go out, check it out, and get lost in the magic that is Spirited Away. And until next time, you guys, this is the Media Raptor saying keep cool, and I will see all you dino dudes around. Later.